Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Malibu Pacific Church podcast here at Malibu Pacific Church. Hey, if you haven't listened to this past week's Sunday sermon yet, I say press pause right now and go listen to that so that this podcast makes a little more sense. But I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. And we got Andy here today, everybody.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
So
How
good.
are you, Joel?
Hey, man. All things considered, doing really, really well.
Great.
It was the first summer weekend here in Malibu.
Finally.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a January, February, March, April gray.
May, gray, everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Finally, I don't know what it was. It was colder this year.
Super cold. And then on top of that, all of a sudden it was 1,000,000 degrees, 87 in Malibu Center. Everybody was
Cooking. We're just cooking.
just frying all over the place. 87 degrees, but through the valley I heard it was 110. So, yay Malibu.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff. Well, hey, we're on session 3 of More Than Enough. And how you liking the series so far? You only got like one more of these.
I know. It's going quick. Maybe we'll spend 2-3 more weeks on it. I don't know. We're talking about money and having more than enough. And I think it's going good. Yeah. I think people are really listening. I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah.
People listening.
People
you tell
are
us.
listening. Yeah, I mean, I listen every single week, but wondering if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or hand gestures, you just shoot them to me, Joel at MalibuPacific.church. But I think just the way that you opened up the sermon, talking about going to the promised land, as I call it, Costco, everybody.
Bring everybody up to speed in case you didn't hear the sermon or in case you weren't there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about discontentment, and boy, they hit you really hard as soon as you walk into Costco.
Absolutely.
Boom. Discontent.
You're just like, wait.
You don't have that.
I mean, they do that on purpose.
I think so.
Absolutely. And then afterwards, after you take your beating while spending all your money, you then come out as a victor because you spent $1.50 on a hot dog. And you're like, I did it. I saved money.
I saved money.
I'm basically saving money buying this $1,000 TV.
But in case you weren't there, the image is... Anybody who's ever walked into Costco, it's the first thing you see as soon as you walk in the doors, an OLED television, 83 inches, flat screen, 4K, super high def. Really, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, now you're making me feel discontent.
Don't worry, you have enough. Yeah. So when you were going through Costco, were you super close to possibly pulling that trigger?
No.
Not
even tempted.
Not even tempted?
No, I wasn't.
Okay. All right.
Well, because I am content.
Yeah.
I love looking at it. But no, just because it's like we just don't need that right now. No, we're thinking about other things. We're investing in other things. Actually, I have the same car I've had for 16 years, I think. It's got 240,000 miles on it. Mm-hmm. And it is tempting. I am starting to kind of look around a little bit in case something... if the car stops working, I am going to just leave it on the side of the road. So if you see a car on the side of the road, there's a good chance it's mine.
There you go.
Because I don't want to spend any more money in it. Yep. And I am kind of preparing because it is leaking oil and it needs coolant. And I carry all that stuff in the car when the sign comes out.
Yeah.
It's in the trunk.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm really happy not having any payments on it either. I'm really happy with... It gets me around town. Do I need anything else? No, I'm super content with that.
Absolutely. Dave Ramsey would be very proud.
He would be proud of me.
Yeah, absolutely. You get a gold star from Dave Ramsey. If you don't know who Dave Ramsey is, we've mentioned him a couple times on the podcast and also during sermons and things like that too.
And we are using a lot of Dave Ramsey content, information, and Crown Ministries, if you're familiar with that. Mm-hmm. Really helpful. But anyway... he's an advocate of do not buy a new car because you probably know as soon as you buy a brand new car, as soon as you walk it off the lot, do you know what? You have to Google that 20,000 or depends on the car.
I heard anywhere between I think it was 15 to 25% is like.
Is that what you lose?
You lose just driving it off.
Yeah.
And that's not including tax, title, license, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Which is pretty wild to think about. This is a really silly tangent, but even winning a car on a game show, I lost a car on a game show. I almost won one.
Oh!
But I got to choose between a box and what's behind the curtain, and I chose what's behind the curtain.
Oh!
And it was a motorized kayak. Still walked away with like a motorized kayak, right? But lo and behold, if I won the car, you still have to pay tax, title, registration right there. And so for a Ford Fiesta that was base model, I would have to pay $6,000.
More than what it's worth.
Exactly. The car was only worth $11,000.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I dodged a bullet. I still paid $700 for the kayak I didn't need for the taxes and things like that. But
that's cool.
Yeah, pretty wild to just think about it. And it was okay because I walked away from that game show being not content, going, I can't believe I lost a car. But looking at it from the grander scheme of things, I was like, I'm so glad I don't own a stick shift Grand Fiesta or Ford Fiesta with crank windows. Yeah. And this is 2013 by you. Like this isn't like, back in 1997 or anything. This is like, no, they had like smart cars and electric cars and things like that.
This is what they're giving away.
Let's make a deal, baby.
Well, just so you know, Joel grew up in Hollywood, Burbank, on the Hollywood studio sets. He's been to all the game shows. So if you want to know anything about Hollywood,
yes,
talk to Joel.
Please talk to me about it. I would love to hook you up and have a really good time here in Malibu and surrounding city of LA. All right, back into the sermon time. So as you're picking out some of the scriptures, I noticed you stuck in 1 Timothy, which is really fun. I'm more of a 2 Timothy kind of guy.
Oh,
because
that kind of
guy, because youth ministry and things like. But it's okay. But no, 1 Timothy. What made you want to be in the book of 1 Timothy inside of this sermon?
Well, we're just describing the different aspects of our money and how we look at money, and so Timothy is the clearest. And we use this passage during the Be Rich campaign. Mm-hmm. Except we use the verse 19 and 20 and 21 about be rich in good deeds and be generous.
Yeah.
But we have never looked at the verses before that or the conversation before that on how to be content. This is the answer. The lower part is the answer. But really the reason for our purchasing stuff is because we're discontent, and that was the reason for going into Costco.
Yeah,
that's marketing. Create discontent. I don't have that, therefore, I need to get one.
And then you're the hero.
Exactly.
In your own world.
No, just we're not doing a money fundraising series. But we are talking about money. In order to be a fully devoted follower of Jesus, we have to talk about finances because it's talking about our hearts. And as long as we're discontent for something we don't have and thinking if we buy that thing, then we'll be content, our eyes are off of Jesus. And the goal of the entire series, actually, don't tell anybody this. I know we're doing a podcast, don't leave the room.
Yeah.
It is actually to point people back to Jesus and following Jesus. It's not about our money. So Timothy is really one of the best, I think, authors there besides Jesus talking about money. He really addresses the issue on contentment. Godliness plus contentment. He's usually actually using the word will equal then great gain. And we define great gain as accumulating a lot of stuff. And the Apostle Paul is taking the words of Jesus and saying, great gain, that is not great gain.
Yeah.
So I should have maybe gone in this direction a little bit, but what is the goal that you have? If it's what kind of great gain? Maybe I should have changed the whole sermon, but what is your great gain? We define great gain as I have a huge 401k, and retirement, and I have a big house, car, and everything. Boats and everything.
I have all the
that is great gain.
That is great gain.
And then the Apostle Paul is going, no, that's not. You're still, dissatisfaction is an appetite that we talked about. And as you keep feeding that appetite, the hungrier you get to keep buying. So
the more.
Yeah, that's feeding the appetite actually doesn't stop the appetite. So, that is what causes us to get in debt. That's what causes us to get another credit card. That is what causes people, and also the passage says it is a trap. That kind of thinking. And God wants what's best for us. So I love what we're doing here in our church is that the information that we're giving and talking about in Jesus and what we learn in the Bible is don't fall into the trap.
Yeah.
Stay out of the trap. I want you to be free. I want you to enjoy your stuff. I want you to enjoy life and be content.
Absolutely. There's one part in that sermon too that in between the services I was like, I'm going to go tell Andy we got to add one more slide. It was, I don't know if you'll get
What
this.
is that?
It's Admiral Akbar. He was a Star Wars character. he yells out, "It's a trap!" And it's like this famous line from Star Wars, because when they show up to blow up the Death Star, he's like, "No, it's a trap! It's a trap! Don't do it!"
We should shut that.
So when you kept saying it's a trap, it was really funny. Our youth pastor, Stuart, in the first service, he looked back at me and he just gave in mouth the words, "It's a trap!
It's a trap! It's a trap!" Well,
man.
it really is.
Yes.
Yeah. And how many people do we know whose completely broken lives? The number one reason why people get a divorce is because of the finances, the debt that you're carrying. It's a trap.
Yeah.
Well, the lie was, if you buy it, if you get it, if you leverage it, if you finance it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know the interest is 29% on it, but if you get it, you're going to be happy. And after a month, you're like, why did I do that?
Mm-hmm.
It's a trap. It's a trap. So that's what the Apostle Paul is trying to say to people. It's a trap. It's a trap.
Mm-hmm. And that's been a huge portion of this sermon series too, with Amy preaching and yourself of you're not going to have your freedom. You're really going to be enslaved to your debtor.
That's right.
And I feel like that more so than ever is happening inside of our economy, inside of this world, where people are feeling more and more trapped of like, oh, I used to be $10,000 in debt, now I'm $100,000 in debt, now I'm yada. It gets more and more and more and more and more. And I really think that a series like this helps somebody to just take a breath and to be like, hey, you know what? I think I have more than enough.
That's good.
You know?
Yeah.
And I feel like there's been a lot of freedom inside of that with the congregation, Malibu Pacific Church as a large, because there's a lot of generosity that happens here too, with time, talents, and treasures. And I just want to say, I think everybody would be okay if you bought that Costco TV. All right, we're rooting for you. I'm just kidding.
Well, it's $799. That was half price of what I paid for what I have now.
When you said those words, I was like, oh man, that's a deal. And I hated the end because you were like, it's a deal. And I'm like, oh man, it is a deal. But we're not getting that TV.
I had somebody come up after church and says, I couldn't concentrate on the sermon. I was like, oh no, sorry, I didn't communicate it very well. Mm-hmm. No, I kept thinking, I need to go down there and get that thing. So I don't think it was a good illustration because everybody was stuck on the Costco TV, $799, 83 inches, 4K.
We all got on the bus, but we got off at Costco.
It was supposed to be an illustration, an idea of it.
But it was great. But I think the way that landing the plane of the awareness drives our spending and the way that you framed, hey, that $800 could be going to these amazing things that are happening around the world. And there wasn't any guilt to it. There wasn't shame. And I was really appreciative of that. It was more of a cheer to be like, hey, you can spend your money more wisely.
There it is.
It is. That's what it is. And it's not like a shame on you for taking that vacation or shame on you for, I don't know, there's a kid that's hungry, which granted, all that stuff hits our hearts all the time. But there was that freedom of saying, when you have more than enough, that you're able to be that much more generous. Yeah. And I think
there's a contentment with that.
Completely. And I would say a majority of us here at Malibu Pacific Church have more than enough, and that's something that's very humbling, and it brings in the humility and also just the gratefulness and thankfulness. And so it's just, again, the awareness that drives our spending and where those funds are going to be directed to, I think just adds, and you say it too, it's a multiplication of generosity for people too. Yeah. That once they have skin in the game and once they have, and they see that they're giving to an organization like here, and I'll just say 10 baptisms, last week.
It was awesome.
That is a huge win. And it's because of the generosity of everybody here that you didn't invest in just lights to be turned on, people to be here, or donuts. It's 10 lives eternally are changed.
Yeah, when we die, we're not going to go to heaven, Jesus say, what did you do with Malibu Pacific Church? How's the building?
Yeah.
That's not going to be one of the questions. Did you guys maintain the building? Did you make sure everything's okay? It's in pristine condition.
You make sure,
Or did you use it to create environments where lives were being changed? It's a tool to be used.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not, you broke the door twice.
What?
You should cancel youth group.
Yeah. It's meant to be used.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, it's it's refocusing. It's not like, oh, don't spend anything, but refocusing our spending on the things that are the most important. And when we focus our spending on the things that bring discontent to God, it also brings discontent with us. It actually changes our spending and it changes our hearts. Because when we're putting our money in that direction, our hearts are gravitated to the things that we spend on. Our hearts become broken for the things that break the heart of God. And actually, God wants to provide more money. That's this coming week. God wants to give us more. Abraham, to be a blessing to others. But the moment, it's like a pipe. Sometimes I've used the example of a pipe, and as long as the water is flowing through the pipe, God keeps providing more and more. Because he's like, if I keep blessing this person, I know that they're being used by me to bless somebody else. But the moment you plug a pipe up and the flow stops, God's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to not bless that person so much. But the generous people are inviting God into their lives. And so we experience the presence of God. We're experiencing the joy of life, and we're content with this life. And we've made God number one because we're spending in the areas that God cares about.
That's awesome. That's so great. We have our session number 4 coming right around the corner here for More Than Enough. As we were wrapping up, can you give us just a little spoiler?
Don't miss it.
There it is. There's the spoiler.
Really, that is a spoiler, I know. But we are literally, quote, going to turn your spending upside down.
There you go.
Literally.
All right.
So don't miss it.
Don't miss it. It's going to be super great. And we are here at Malibu Pacific Church every Sunday on site and online, 9:30 and 11 o'clock. 9:30 and 11 o'clock. Please bring a friend and also share this podcast with somebody who hasn't heard it yet. And then on top of that, please share the sermon with somebody who needs to hear it. One text message and a share really can change a life or get the ball rolling. Because as we say, the sermon starts actually online.
Oh, there you go.
And then in the parking lot.
We do say that.
Yeah. So
how we're living our lives is we are preaching a sermon.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but we do appreciate the parking team. Yay, parking team. Thank you, everybody out there.
Yes.
But the sermon does start in the parking lot. In our case, the sermon does start digitally.
Yep. So, with that said, thank you again for subscribing to the Malibu Pacific Church podcast. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or hand gestures for Andy or anybody who's preaching, please send them to me, Joel, at MalibuPacific.church, JOEL at MalibuPacific.church. And we'll see you guys next week for a new episode here at Malibu Pacific Church podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
Take care.